to start, and he will give me a signal back saying that they are prepared to start right now. Right now we are live, Chair Goodman, and we can begin the meeting.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the first meeting of the Business Inspections and Zoning Committee. I'm Lisa Goodman and I'm chairing this committee today. As we begin, I'll note for the record this meeting has remote participation by members of the City Council and City staff as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 because of the declared public health emergency. At this time, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify quorum for this committee.
Councilmember Schrader.
Here.
Reich.
Here.
Gordon. Gordon. Fletcher.
Here.
Ellison.
Present.
Chair Goodman.
Present. Let the record reflect we have a quorum for this committee. Members of the committee, the agenda for today's meeting in front of us. As always, we'll begin with the consent agenda, which is items 5 through 13 shown on the printed agenda. Item 5 are the liquor license approvals. Item 6 are gambling license approvals. Item 7 are gambling license renewals. Item number 8 is a rental license reinstatement at 3511 Colfax Avenue North. Item number 9 is a bid for electric services for our rental repair program. Item number 10 is a contract with the Mississippi Watershed Management Organization for conducting of illicit discharge sampling. Item 11 is a vacation resolution correction for Richard Glassman at 3rd Avenue North. Item number 12 is a rezoning for the St. Anthony Group at 911 Lowry Avenue Northeast. And item number 13 is a rezoning for Mark Palm at 2801 Hennepin Avenue East. Are there any agenda items anyone would like to pull for discussion? Seeing no items to be pulled, are there any items anyone would like to discuss? Seeing no discussion, I will move the consent agenda and ask the clerk's office to call the roll.
I would note for the record, Councilmember Gordon is present for the meeting. Roll call for 5 through 13. Councilmember Schrader.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Gordon.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There's 6 ayes.
As a result of having unanimous approval of those items, they are approved. We'll move now on to our public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1, which is the Zoning Board of Adjustment appointments. I'll turn this over to staff.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Goodman. This is Brad Ellis, Manager of Zoning Administration and Enforcement, and I'd like to just introduce, well, I unfortunately don't have the new Board of Adjustment applicant with us today due to the nature of the meeting, but I would like to say a couple of quick words about her. We did have a good group of applicants this time around, and Ms. Wong stood out. She is a small business consultant, lives in Ward 2. She brings some much needed diversity to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and we're really looking forward to having her join the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, so that's the appointment. The reappointments, did you want to mention those as well?
They're 2 long-standing members of the Board of Adjustment. Both have done excellent work and are very committed to the Board of Adjustment, and we appreciate their continued input in the Board of Adjustment. Thank
you, Mr. Ellis. Are there any questions for staff on public hearing item number 1? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 1, which is approving the council appointments of Joanne Wang, as well as the reappointments listed below, John Finlayson and Daniel Ogiba. Is there anyone on the line to speak to this issue?
Did you tell her that already?
Chair Goodman, no one has signed up to speak to item number 1.
Okay, so should I call for speakers or just assume that since no one's on the line, there are no speakers? Sounds like.
I believe there's no one on the line.
Okay, so given that there's no one on the line, I will close the public hearing. Councilmember Gordon, would you like to move approval?
I'm happy to. I'll move approval of this item.
Item number 1 has been moved for approval. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 2, which is some changes to our liquor catering license ordinance, and we'll have a presentation from staff.
Good afternoon, Chair Goodman and Business Committee members. I'm Enrique Velazquez, the Manager of Licenses and Consumer Services. Today I present to you an ordinance amendment to Chapter 360 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances, amending provisions related to the liquor caterer's license. So in total, there are 4 components to the request. Number 1, a recommendation changing the language from 24 hours notice to 1 full business day. Every event requires the liquor caterer to send a notification form to Licenses and Consumer Services. Upon request, license inspectors research and verify the information submitted, notify the police precinct if requested, and send an approved event permit to the liquor caterer. Liquor caterer is required to have this event permit on site at their event. The current deadline, which is 24 hours, occurs after close of business on Friday for events scheduled on either Saturday evening or Sunday. Changing the deadline allows license inspectors adequate time to ensure requirements are met and deliver the event permit to the applicant prior to their event. The second component is a recommendation adding a 50% late fee for notification forms that are received after the deadline. The 2020 liquor catering daily event fee is $65, so this late fee would equal $33 per day. This proposal mirrors the 50% late fee applied to temporary liquor, wine, or beer licenses, as well as the temporary expansion of license for on-sale license holders. The third component, a recommendation adding an annual license fee for liquor caterers. This proposed $65 fee would fund the administrative duties associated with processing the initial license application and annually thereafter. Liquor catering is the only license which currently does not have an annual license fee. The fourth element is a recommendation changing the expiration date of the annual liquor caterer's license from August to April, and that would be effective in 2021. The change aligns expiration dates with most of our on-sale licenses, and this will help minimize confusion by issuing a single invoice for license holders, as well as improve some efficiencies for staff during the renewal period. We've received 0 comments in response to this public hearing announcement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Velazquez on item number 2? I'll note members of the committee can also add your name to meeting chat if you have any questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2. Irene, are there any people signed up to speak on item number 2?
There are no speakers for item number 2.
Okay, so there are no speakers present for item number 2, so I will close the public hearing and ask if there's further comment or questions from the committee. Seeing none, I would take a motion from Councilmember Fletcher, please.
I'm happy to move approval of this item.
Councilmember Fletcher has moved approval of item number 2. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
There are 6 ayes, meaning that item is adopted and approved. We'll move on to item number 3 for a presentation by staff.
Good afternoon, Chair Goodman and Business Committee members again. Still Enrique Velazquez, and Manager of Licenses and Consumer Services. I present to you an ordinance amendment to Chapter 259 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances, updating the administrative issuance authority assigned to the licensing official. This is a routine issuance approval. This is a routine update which occurs about every 2 years. we recommend adding 3 license categories to the administrative issuance approval of business licenses in this round: emergency shelter, liquor catering renewal, and micro wholesaler food license endorsement. The administrative issuance has become a beneficial tool for licensing and consumer services division in partnership with our other departments across the city enterprise to help business owners begin operation as soon as they have satisfied all of the requirements. There are 3 key criteria to qualify for administrative issuance. The application must be complete, meet all ordinance requirements, and approved by all applicable departments. Secondly, the applicant must be in good standing with the city. And third, issuance of the new license does not require operating conditions. The primary benefit of administrative issuance is the expedited license approval for our customers. The application review process does not change and includes the collaboration and sign-off of all other applicable departments. Included in this public hearing are amendments to the license fee schedule. In addition to clarifying and simplifying the list of licenses, 1 new fee for emergency shelter was added. The emergency shelter fee mirrors that of the lodging establishment fee. Both facilities have similar application review, inspection, and licensing standards. On behalf of Licenses and Consumer Services Division, I request approval of the recommended amendment to Chapter 259 and to the license fee schedule. We've had 0 comments in response to the public hearing announcement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Velasquez on item number 3? Seeing none. No, I'm sorry. Seeing Councilmember Fletcher. Councilmember Fletcher, please.
Thank you, Chair Goodman. I'm wondering, Mr. Velasquez, if you can just describe why it makes sense to have a fee for emergency shelter application. It seems like almost any time that we are considering emergency shelters, we're going to be in a position where we may not want to have a fee involved. So I guess I'm just curious the thinking on that particular portion of the proposal.
Thank you, Councilmember Fletcher. So the logic with the emergency shelter application, there is quite a bit of administrative work that goes into this, from the inspection process, from the pre-review process for health, specifically food, lodging, and pools. So it's just purely a cost recovery, and alignment-wise, it seems to fit best with that lodging establishment, which is a fairly low-cost fee, depending on the size and the scale and scope of that emergency shelter.
Thank you.
Are there further questions for Mr. Velasquez? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is changes to administrative issuance of licenses. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? I'll ask the clerk if anyone is called in on this issue.
There are no callers for this item.
Thank you, Irene. There are no callers, therefore I will close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Schrader.
I'd be happy to move this item forward.
Item number 3 has been moved forward for approval. Are there further comments or questions? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. That item has been adopted, and we'll move to our last public hearing, which is item number 4. I'm not sure, Enrique, are you doing that one as well?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. So Enrique Velasquez, Manager of Licenses and Consumer Services, once more to present to you an ordinance amendment to Chapter 349 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances as it relates to wreckers and tow trucks. So in Section 349.270 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances, maximum service fee is established for Class A towing. These maximum service fees represent a balance between consumer protection and cost recovery for the towing industry. They have proven beneficial in flattening disparities across the city for vehicle owners and financially viable for tow operators. A single maximum service fee is inadequate for tow operators to recover costs when towing larger vehicles such as buses or semis. The purpose of the ordinance amendment is to develop a maximum service fee for the different classes and weights of vehicles, transfer the maximum service fee to the license fee schedule for ease of lookup, and then change the effective date of the annual adjustment from September to January of each year to be consistent with the license fee schedule. The annual review of the maximum service fee will continue. Policy has been developed in the Licenses and Consumer Services Division, which replicates the current language in the ordinance. Fee adjustments are based on changes in the personal consumption expenditures price index. And on behalf of the Licenses and Consumer Services Division, I request approval of the recommended amendment to Chapter 349 of Minneapolis Code of Ordinances and to the license fee schedule.
Are there any questions for Mr. Velasquez on item number 4? Seeing no questions, thank you very much. Seeing there are no questions, I'll open the public hearing on item number 4 and ask Irene if there is anyone who's called in on this issue.
I've been told there is one caller in queue.
Okay. If
Nancy Hilden.
Okay, great. Ms. Hilden, welcome to our virtual meeting. If you'd like to make a comment, and please attempt to keep it at 2 minutes. Is Ms. Hilden on the call? Does someone have to unmute her mic?
Press star 6. Nancy, if you could press star 6 to unmute.
It's good to test this with someone we know.
She's still on mute. Press star 6. She's on. Is anybody talking to the chair?
I'm sitting quietly waiting to see if Ms. Hilden will come on to the public hearing.
I think there's technical difficulties,
Okay, well, we
obviously,
can
at
wait.
this time, so.
Good afternoon.
Oh, great. Ms. Hilden, welcome.
Hi, thank you all, and good afternoon. Yeah, I will be very brief. I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for bringing this issue up. I represent Cedar Towing. They have a long history with the city, and the daughters have taken over. It's a fully woman-owned and operated small business in Andrew Johnson's Ward 12. And they have been working with staff to address this issue. Whoop. Hello? Hello?
We can hear
Hello?
you.
Oh, okay. It seems that Councilmember Goodman can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Hello? Oh, you can. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know what you heard or not, but I just wanted to put in a word of support from Cedar Towing. Very much appreciate the work of both Councilmember Johnson and the city staff to take up this issue and find a solution. So that's all I have for the record.
Thank you very much for your testimony and for figuring out how to make it to a public hearing on a phone call. Hopefully others will be able to figure it out in the coming weeks.
Can the caller
Take care.
please spell your last name?
Could you
Yes,
spell your last name?
Hylden, representing Cedar Towing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else lined up or on the line to speak at this public hearing?
I believe that was the only speaker that called in.
Okay, thank you. Is there, I guess then we'll close the public hearing and we'll see if Councilmember Andrew Johnson, who is on the line, wanted to make a comment, or if not, we can see if there's any further questions before we make a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the committee taking up this issue. I think whenever you say the word towing, people maybe pause for a moment with this, but in this case, you know, this is a pretty simple change with this. It's not going to increase the amount of towing nor change the rigorous controls that are there, such as the requirement for a property owner to actually initiate a tow and to be there during the process of a tow. These are tows that are already going on and they're contractually obligated to occur. And what this really does is just prevent these small businesses from taking a loss when they have to do these and perform these vital services. So I appreciate the committee taking this up. I know we've been working on this for months, and I'm glad that this is not a controversial issue. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the call today, Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Reich, would you like to make a motion?
I move the item before us.
Item number 4 has been moved for approval. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes, 0 nays.
That item is approved. The final item on today's agenda is item number 14 under discussion. It's not on discussion because there's a concern with any of the liquor license approvals, but more because there are over 100 liquor license approvals. And I wanted to take this opportunity for staff to brief the committee as well as the public on the work that they're doing with regard to liquor licenses during this pandemic emergency. So I'd ask Mr. Velasquez if he would like to just give us a briefing about what's going on, and then I'll ask Councilmember Schrader to move approval.
Thank you, Chair Goodman, for this opportunity to speak. So Enrique Velasquez, Manager of Licenses and Consumer Services, and what staff is doing, we are responding essentially to Emergency Regulation 2020-07, which grants the suspension of license fees for any liquor, wine, and beer license renewals while we're in this current state of emergency. This emergency regulation went into effect on Friday, March 20th. And what this really means to businesses is that they're allowed to continue operating with whatever limited scope that they are able to continue moving forward in, whether it's a restaurant and utilize the takeout, if it's a nightclub, adult entertainment establishment, entertainment venue, anything of that nature, they're obviously much more limited. So they're not necessarily able to take advantage of that liquor license that they have in place. So the suspension basically makes it so that they do not have to incur the cost of that license at present while they're not able to take benefit of that license. So the fee will still be due at some point. It's just not due right now, so that those businesses can focus their efforts and their energy and finances towards other means while we're in this current state of pandemic.
Are there any questions for Mr. Velasquez with regard to how he is approaching liquor license renewals? And feel free, if you have a question, to add your name to the meeting chat on the right side of the table. Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd call on Councilmember Schrader, please.
Sure. First, I'd like to thank staff for their work and thoughtfulness about this as we're dealing with the pandemic and the kind of how they're trying to think about how businesses are approaching. And I'd like to move this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Schrader. This item has been moved for approval. I'd ask that the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Schrader,
Aye.
Reich,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes, 0 nays.
That carries and those licenses are approved. There is no further business on our agenda today. Unless there is an objection, I would call this meeting adjourned. Is there no objection? Then the meeting is adjourned. Special thank you to Casey and the IT team and everyone in the clerk's office for helping make this happen today. Stay safe, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.